Hello. All right. What's happening Monday? This is awesomemode.com's From A to B. Andrew Barron's here. Ben Raza. We got Josh Engelman behind the glass producing for us. What's happening, Ben?
Not much. Another NFL Sunday with steroid scoring. It's becoming old fast for me. I don't like that. Not gonna lie.
It's not going anywhere.
No, I know it. It's not, is it?
No.
It's. I don't know. Obviously, we're gonna talk about that. We're gonna recap, as painful and annoying as some of it was. We're gonna talk a little about the game tonight. A little Ryder Cup. I thought there was a small window there in the Ryder Cup, but there wasn't.
They broke up the dream team.
Yeah, Patrick Reed. He's not shy, man.
What an asshole.
He just, I don't know. It was just it's easy. I feel like it's always blame the captain. Maybe I'm misguided there. It just feels like anytime a team plays bets, like, well, Furyk, he screwed it up. But the American, you got to hit fair. The Europeans picked a course to mitigate the talent advantage, and that was smart. You have to hit fairways here. We have nobody who was accurate off the tee, and it showed. I mean, Phil, Bubba, even our real, actual good players. It was a disaster.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, I didn't watch any of the Ryder Cup because I honestly don't really care about stuff like that, but it was sort of, yeah. And it was a weird time here. It started at like midnight and it was usually over by the time I was like, having coffee and ready to move around. I try not to watch. This is weird. Maybe I don't like to watch TV like first thing in the morning. It just like doesn't sit right with me. That's like when my brain is usually most kind of on. I like to do a couple things with my brain. I don't really love the rolling out of bed and immediately getting into it kind of thing. I know you're different like that. You love to.
Yeah, I'm a morning not that you're not, but I'm a morning person. I'm the opposite. I don't like to watch TV at night. I hate, like last night I taped the game, watched it in the morning at like 6 in the morning. That's just how I liked it. But yeah, it's Ryder Cup. It's not. I don't live and die with it. It is what it is. It was. I was hoping for more drama than we saw. Obviously, it would have been cool for a little charge there. JT did his job, and the rest of the team certainly did not. But we'll have Safeway. I can't believe I thought there was a week break, which there certainly is not.
No, golf never sleeps, dude. We're
not going to talk about that. We're going to do a real golf show tomorrow. So if you want to play some golf, tune in. But did you look at the people in this tournament?
Yeah, for like 2 seconds, I saw the pricing that Camlay's 11.6, and then
Denny McCarthy is like 10,000. It's there's legitimately 25, 30 dudes that I've never heard of.
Yeah, that's what this afternoon is going to be for.
Mark Mulder's playing. Did you see that?
Like the pitcher?
Yeah.
Wow, that's cool.
Yeah. So don't play him. That's our first free tip of the day.
That makes me feel old because you see like Mulder playing. I mean, Hudson and Zito hasn't been good for a million years either. But did you see like Mike Scioscia's been the manager of the Angels for 20 years, is not going to be back next year. And the most likely candidate to replace him is Eric Chavez, who was another one of those studs from the like early 2000s, like Moneyball A's teams. So they're all gone. They're all old.
I remember Mark Mulder. Eric Chavez, if you asked me who that was, I would have said a baseball player. Don't know if I could have put him on the A's, but was Mulder on I remember him as a Cardinal. Is that possible?
Yeah. Well, because that was the thing with the A's is all those guys became stars and they couldn't afford them. So I think Chavez was the only one they kept. Because I don't know, because he wasn't quite as good as like, Miguel Tejada and Jason Giambi were just like crazy hitters. So they got huge contracts elsewhere. And then all the pitchers eventually became too expensive. I don't know, whatever. Fun stuff. Have you read Moneyball?
I have, yeah.
Classic of the genre. Very, and very, big deal thing for what we do, obviously.
No, for sure. Speaking of what we do, so yesterday, I don't know, man. It was an interesting. I'll talk about my
started off great.
It did
for so long.
It was really good for 95% of that slate. And then I was just in a position where, to be honest, I wasn't really paying attention because I knew that at worst I was going to probably make 20-30%. And then Kamara broke a 60-yard touchdown. Jared Cook, the overtimes didn't help, but the Kamara touchdown, I mean, it shifted things more radically than I thought. Even if he would have done, if you would have asked me what would have happened if he did that, I didn't think that would happen. I went from up a ton to actually, I took a loss on the week. It wasn't bad, but just the way it happened was absolutely brutal. One of the more frustrating weeks I've had in a long time, just because I don't know. I mean, I look at my team. I don't know what else I could have done in the sense it scored more than I ever would have imagined, and I didn't really have any landmines. It's hard when 200 isn't getting there.
Yeah, man. I finally had similar experience. I was up a bit. I didn't have any like crazy tournament teams. I had some pretty good ones, but nothing insane. But my cash team went nuke finally. This was like the first week where it had really gone off, and I had not had a great start to the season. Played a little bit less cash in week 4, and then finally had I scored 221 in cash, which honestly, even that, it was like 85th percentile. Like that wasn't winning boosters or anything like that. It was nuts. But had a little less cash than normal. I was up 20-30% until 10 minutes left in the late games. I wasn't even really paying all that much attention. I hadn't talked to my sisters in a while, and I was FaceTiming with them. They were hanging out watching. And then I look, I'm on the phone with them for 40 minutes. And I look at my currently winning, and I'm just like, is this what happened? What went wrong here? I had Red Zone on in the background. I saw that Kamara was doing some things, but I didn't realize he had gone from 11 points to 45.
It was just, yeah, I mean, in high stakes, he was rightfully so very popular.
Yeah.
And he just went. It was a killer just because it was one of those situations. It was so late in the game. If they just tackle him, then, I don't know exactly where the timeouts were, but there's a chance they're just taking knees at that point. It wasn't like, it was basically down to avoid Kamara breaking off an actual 50, 60-yard touchdown.
Yeah. Which he obviously has an incredible capability to do. I said all week last week, he had the highest projection in my projection model I'd ever seen. He ended up cracking 30 when it was all said and done for the projection. And it was okay, that's a very good projection. Maybe a little bit of that is that his volume has been way up this year, and his efficiency still looks really good from last year when he wasn't when he didn't have as big of a workload. And even if he scores 30, say he scores 24, 25, which is what I sort of felt like was the most likely outcome. You're fine with that at $9,600. My argument all week was what does a $9,600 player have to do to kill you? He's got to score almost 40 points. You know how hard it is for that to happen?
Well, no, I mean, and we got Carl Marks in the chat. Good friend of the show. What's up, buddy?
Carl, how's it? Second morning, third morning? Which one we at?
Good people in the chat right now. Anyway, I'm with you, and I feel like we kind of saw, and it was within a game, of course, so it really doesn't matter. But at the same time, we saw both ends of the Kamara mindset. It wasn't like he was playing badly, but through almost all that game, you saw why people, me included, were underweight, because him just doing his thing, getting 22 is certainly not going to cut it, especially with this type of scoring.
Yeah.
Then you saw a guy who also, and it's not like either side doesn't know the other. We saw, a guy who can break off a 60-yard flash in a split second and really run it up. I was not on, Michael Thomas was ineffective. Breeze was ineffective. As a whole, the Saints really didn't look great, but Kamara just, part of me does want to say, he's living on the edge. He scored 3 times, but he's incredible. There's no doubt that is always going to be a scary fade.
Right, which is why he's $9,600.
Yeah, and 45% owned.
Yep. That's a fun. I mean, I think that's a fairly okay fade most of the time.
I
don't feel bad about it. I scored 221 in cash, didn't have Kamara on it. Because if you look at it too,
that doesn't look good.
Oh,
yep, he's there. I saw him.
Oh, you're back in.
I'm here.
Okay, I'm here. We're both here.
I don't think I thought it was you that was gone for a minute.
It's very possible.
No, it was you, Andrew.
God damn it.
All right.
Every time.
And we're
everyone's
back.
getting juicy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I just, it is what it is.
Good point brought up in the chat. The guy, Seth Hader, says that the FanDuel Millie Maker didn't have Kamara. The DK Millie Maker didn't have Kamara either. Like, there were other avenues to go. I had the ones I was really excited about, I ended up being way, way, way overweight on DeAndre Hopkins and Julio Jones, who scored 36 and 30 points respectively. But when Taylor Gabriel and the Corey Davis both just crushed that at half the price, it doesn't even get, that doesn't even get you anywhere. So
it was, yeah, I mean, I got to Gabriel in cash. That's what saved my cash lineup. That was so lucky. Didn't even want to do it. It just happened. And it was like, all right, I'll just stick with this. But yeah, I mean, this is the part that's tough. Like a play like Gio in tournament, Cash obviously is playing him. In tournaments, I used him really heavily. He played good, really well. It didn't really help me.
No, I had 75% Gio, and like everyone's doing victory laps on Twitter about how sick. Which, granted, he's 35% owned. Like everyone was on him. Don't be too excited about that. But then also, like, what did he score? 25, 26 points? Like that wasn't even really that big of a deal.
No, it was, and obviously Zeke was a big deal, and he was great.
Yep.
But Kamara, it was almost hard to mess some spots up, and that I don't know. I struggle with that when I look, and it's my lineup is pretty effective across the board. I had a couple guys that weren't stellar, but when I say not stellar, when your last guy is 2.5x and everyone else is 3, 4, sometimes 5, like it's hard to really imagine not an effective day. But then I look and I say if the Giants played early and I salvaged the day to get, a little less than break even, I'd probably feel a lot better. It was just the manner in which it had. I was comfortably cashing and everything. Had some chances to, win some smaller field things, possibly grab a seat, not to the big one, to the other one, which I did not. So we'll see. I mean,
yeah, I mean, I had Jared Cook in cash, which turned me from it was like, okay, things are going pretty well. Talked to my sisters for a while. Look back, oh my God, it's a disaster. Like I went from up 20% to down 50% in 30, 40 minutes. And then the very end of that game happens and Cook went crazy and I won a few more $100 and $200 head-to-heads, which brought me back up to minus 35 or so. So whatever.
Yeah. It's also, and chat just brought this up, it's a good point. Pricing has been soft. That's gonna make scores somewhat higher, but at the same time, some of these value plays are just, even if it was tight pricing, they're getting there at an astronomical clip. Scoring in general, the way, the officiating and just the league is trending. I'm gonna, like many people, I think I'm gonna have to adapt to what I'm doing because, when you have a guy who's 6K, I used to say, man, if he can, 20, let's do it. That might be, falling behind at this point. It's very difficult to. You got to factor in now how high are these ceilings? It's not just can he be effective.
Right, which that was one of the reasons, like someone like CJ Beathard who had a, looking projection, because quarterbacks are going to project fairly similarly, but the ceilings are very different. But I mean, it's just I don't even know if Thursday to Monday slates might not be won by Ram stacks as crazy.
No,
as that.
And yeah, that's a good point. I think if there's one takeaway I've taken so far, it's that, you can take Josh Allen against the Vikings, perfect example. that doesn't even help you, even if you get it right, and that seems far-fetched in a lot of spots. You got to get quarterback, not just right, like 5, 6. I mean, there's so many guys.
Yep. And when there's 6 games that are scoring 60-plus points, game stacks don't beat. It's not about getting the game stack right even. You know what I mean? Like, I had a lot of I was very high on Deshaun Watson, had a ton of him with, and some, some Colts running it back, a little bit of Ty, some Ebron. That wasn't great. And then like the Will Fuller thing, which incidentally, Will Fuller was on the DraftKings winning Millie ticket, but he just hit everything perfect other than that. And the Fuller injury, like that really hurt me in a lot of spots.
I was way over on him and I never play him, but you're right.
This is same.
Situation, honestly, and GameStack, I totally get the concepts, not saying go away from it, but there are not enough points even in a shootout to get to these scores. Like nobody can, your fringe plays, they're effective in the landscape of what we're used to seeing. But when you're even in a high octane game, there's not 7 plays that are going to get to 35. Right.
And if you stacked, the Vikings and Rams game in a Thursday to Monday slate, all those receivers that scored 28, 30 points cost you 6, 7K. So like they weren't even all that valuable. It's just
I mean, and that's kind of what we saw. You mentioned this already. It's worth repeating. Like you don't pick up anything if you have DeAndre Hopkins if you don't have Taylor Gabriel.
Right.
You actually just like there were so many teams in certain situations where, and I did have some Gabriel, but where I basically had the same points as someone, but I looked and the only difference was they've had 3,000-esque more going into the late games because their punt scored 30, my $7,500 play scored 30. It's like, wow, this wasn't even an advantage. It's something.
What was the Gabriel argument? Because I saw some people in Slack talking about that too. I never had considered him really. Is it just the Tampa Bay slot situation?
It was for me. It was Tampa Bay slot. Anthony Miller was hurt. I think that's what really got people on him. The combination of a good matchup and that he was going to take an increased role with Anthony Miller being out.
Yep, that makes
3,900. Like, Christian Kirk was the guy that I originally was on in cash, but I used him, as you know, in my really high stakes bullet. So I just split the difference.
I had Kirk in cash, which whatever.
Would have
been. It was the worst play I had.
Yeah, and he wasn't. I mean, he was not good, but he was not a complete bust. Just again, landscape. We have to redefine all these terms.
Right. The Danny Amendola sort of, hey, I got 7 for 60 games, like which he hasn't even been getting those this year. But that kind of thing, like that's not going to work, given how things are going right now. So.
And as you know, if there's one person that will not benefit, it would be me. Like that's how I prefer just pure carnage, especially on the golf side. But
yeah, so there has been a little chat from Earl and D. Kiefer talking a little bit about pricing and comparing this to PGA, and like I think we can unpack a little bit of that. One was the first question being sort of thoughts on DK soft pricing. That turning into this is sort of what happens on PGA major weeks. I guess what I would say is I think the DK soft pricing, it's far sharper than it was even a couple of years ago because all the backups are priced up a little bit now. There were some reasonable, like super cheap plays, but I don't think it's like insanely soft. I think what it's more like, it's not so much, and I don't think pricing at the majors is particularly soft either, to be perfectly honest.
Really?
I think, yeah, because it's not like it's all relative. You've got all these awesome dudes. So like Charles Schwartzel at 7,100 is not actually a bargain because he sucks compared to, Dustin Johnson and Justin Rose. Yeah. But you know what it is to me? It's just like this is turning into, and this happened in the PGA a little bit this year too. Every week in NFL is a birdie fest. Like it's turning into every course is a birdie fest. That's what this is like. You cannot have the guys that aren't getting streaks and all under 70 bonuses and all of that shit. Like you need it all. Like you just have to, you can't screw up anywhere. You have to hit the nuts everywhere.
Well said. I agree. I had not thought of that, but I actually completely agree. I will say that quarterback feels kind of different because it is so sandwiched at this point. I don't really understand that. I mean, you've got it makes it really hard to take a stab because you're not even saving. It's just like, well, everyone's 6,400 or 5,700, and that includes Drew Brees all the way to some bozos. So it's just very hard to pull the trigger.
Yeah, that's true. The extreme bozos, like I don't know. I played Dalton and Cash this week, and
so do I. I just mean you used to be able to say, you know what, you talked about this. I'm punting with like a 5K buffoon, and if he can get me 18 to 20, like I can load up elsewhere. That's not going to work if this is what we say.
No, like Tannehill shows up in my projections often each week. If you just run a cruncher optimal or something like that, it'll tell you to play some Ryan Tannehill. I played a little bit in week 1. I haven't touched him since. That there's just no ceiling there. Like you can't get away with this median projection of 17. Like that's not, if your quarterback scores 17, you're just kind of screwed. Because the people, and I think that this needs to get adjusted. The projections will catch up to this, but right now they're mostly being written off of 2017 data. I will manually change them around a little bit if there's like a new coordinator or something like that to try to change like the number of plays they're running and like the pass run distribution. But like the yards per attempt on passes is just going way up because you can't touch, you just can't play defense really anymore. It's very difficult. So people are taking advantage of that. So
yeah, it'll be, and I do think that just on the whole, not that it's going to drastically shift more this just happens. I think chalk's getting there at a disproportionate rate. Like there's going to be some weeks where some big plays crash. But more, we're still going to have to change the way we think about this as a whole, even though right now it does seem that, I mean, God, it's crazy. There's not a lot of real murky stuff happening. It seems these guys that are really popular are getting there.
Yep. D-Cover brings up another good point. They're adjusting for backups the first week. What about Gio though? That is actually where I think you are right, where they don't necessarily guys that are getting full workloads. It does take them a little bit to get up to that. Connor was the obvious example there. Like he should have been more like 8K, and they'll jump at $1,000 at a time, sort of thing. And Gio was certainly underpriced this week. But if you look at it, his sort of points per dollar, like not to be results, but his points per dollar weren't really any better than 6,300. It wasn't like he had a $7,500 week. He was just sort of
not in this landscape. No. Yeah, we'll see. I'm not gonna completely just change everything just yet. I mean, I think that's too drastic. But when I get down to it, I naturally, the way I build, if I have a complete toss-up, I tend normally to side with the guy that I feel confident's not going to get me closer to 0. I'm probably on toss-ups now. I'm going to say this guy could get me 30. I'm going to embrace a little more risk.
Yeah, I think it is going to be largely about stealing. I
got to get a new job. It's not good. But yeah, I mean, for me so far, I mean, the results haven't been bad. It's just been frustrating when, I made mistakes in a couple of weeks. That feels a lot better than last week where I look back and I'm really happy with the way I built. Everything on the whole was pretty solid.
Yeah, I did make a couple mistakes. Notably for me, the big one was Tevin Coleman. I had him. I mean, I played about 75% Gio. I played 55, 60% Tevin Coleman. And that really hurt. Ito Smith took way more of the workload than I thought he was going to. He had been banged up in practice, so I thought that we might get a little more Coleman. Just seeing what Christian McCaffrey and a garbage Panthers offensive line were able to do to Cincinnati just from a run game perspective the week before was really encouraging to me. Coleman came out and was good the first couple drives. He was sort of nickel and diamond, but he was averaging kind of 5 yards a carry and looked like he was getting there. It's like, all right, well, if he gets the, couple 20-yard plays and a touchdown at some point, like he's going to be in a good spot. And then I think he just ran for -3 yards in the second half, if I remember right. I think he had 11 at halftime and just never did anything again.
Yeah, I mean, and again, I know we're harping on the same point. These things are magnified to the extreme in weeks like this because you just can't have it. And yeah, and just Chad just brought up a good point. Someone like Gabriel, I didn't play him because I thought he had a 30-point ceiling. I played him still because I'm on the mantra of, I wanted that safety. And guys, ceiling gets thrown around a lot. Most guys do. But on the whole, I think embracing risk is going to be more important.
I had zero. I don't know. I guess I just missed that. I had zero Gabriel because, like, even with accounting for Miller being out in the projections, like Gabriel wasn't really showing up for me. He does like naturally have a bit of a higher ceiling just because he's so goddamn fast.
Yeah,
the big plays are there.
I'll be honest. I mean, I stumbled into him certainly in cash and just in general. I wanted more Allen Robinson and I needed the savings, so I was like, well, there you go.
Was Taylor Gabriel the guy for the Browns in like week 1 3 years ago that won the remember like Dugan brothers or something like that won? They had a video of them being interviewed and it was just like some dudes that clearly didn't play a lot of DFS, but they haven't had. I think Taylor Gabriel had like 2 monster dongs.
That is how he play. He's a gadget-esque player who, if he gets in space, can do. Now, when you're wide open, the way Tampa's defense, we're not even going to get into that. Disgraceful. That was a horrible. Before everyone anoints Trubisky, take a look at those highlights. Guys are 10 yards in the clear.
It's much more. I would say it's much more of an indictment on Tampa's defense than it is. Trubisky made some throws, and supposedly in college in his limited sample size was pretty accurate. Yeah. I have not seen him do anything at the NFL level at all ever, to be honest with you. But
it's not a knock. It's just, let's be serious. I never thought that just like pretty much any starting quarterback isn't capable of having him on. It's just we'll see when he gets competent, fair opponents. Can he be not that, but he needs to be better than he had been. And they're 3-1. They're a serious team because Khalil Mack's the best player in the league.
Nah, come on. He's like the third best defensive player.
Do you really think that?
Yeah.
You just love Aaron Donald.
Donald and J.J. Watt. And I might have taken. J.J. Watt is back, dude.
Yeah, he looked very good yesterday.
Donald and Watt, I would say, Geno Atkins is right there. Earl Thomas, rest in peace. That's truly devastating. He's a secondary piece, so it's like not as valuable, but man, Earl Thomas was awesome. And that really, we should have a segment on that, I guess. I just feel really bad for the guy. That guy's an amazing player.
He's a boss. Not going to put words in Le'Veon Bell's mouth, but I'm sure Le'Veon was upset at seeing a guy hurt, but at the same time, he got some, that is why these guys, you got to get your money when you can get your money. Because you saw it, and that was brutal. It didn't even look, unlike Tyler Eifert, who that was brutal.
That looked like Gordon Hayward.
Yeah, that was bad. But Earl Thomas, I saw the play. I, didn't think it was that bad. And then here comes the cart. But yeah. I think they get the Rams coming up. That could be.
The Rams are going to score 75 points in Seattle next weekend.
That would be, they should get a win then. They'll be 5-0. And the other undefeated team, Mahomes, who we didn't have to deal with on the main slate tonight. Are you playing any Monday, Thursday?
Yeah. I registered a little bit. I haven't dug into it a ton yet for the Monday, Thursday. Just the Thursday game is New England and Indianapolis.
Yeah, a banged up Indy team in an overtime I believe it's going to Foxborough.
Yeah, they're going to get killed. That and Indianapolis defense has been smoke and mirrors all season. They're playing very, very basic, cover 2, no preseason defense kind of stuff. Just no gimmicks at all, just because they don't have the talent. So they're trying to not overexert anyone.
I think that's smart.
I think so too. And they played fundamentally well for a couple of weeks.
Yeah.
Vanilla cover 2 defense in a regular NFL regular season game against Tom Brady. That's not going to work.
No. But Colts, I'll give them a shout out for that and for going for it in overtime, and which ultimately cost them the game. But why would that be helpful to tie? Like, you need wins. You're already in the hole. So yeah, I give it to him though. Yeah, you have to know your personnel. So
EMAC bringing up the 60s again when his youth. Joe Theismann.
Dude, yeah, that was a bad one. That was like the original absurd one. Willis McGahee. There's many of them. Yeah, I played some last night. We were talking a little before the show that somehow it was pretty much a landmine fest unless you had Smokey Brown for the 2-gamer. There was not much happening. I mean, AB wasn't a disaster, but he wasn't great either.
No, but that was money well spent. At least you have to
fill it out somewhere
else. Yeah, exactly. My problem, Juju was like the best play. I thought he was the best play the entire week. I was really bummed he wasn't on the main slate because I really wanted to jam him in. He got the work. He got 11 targets. A couple were like, long touchdown throws, and
Ben
just couldn't get it done. Yeah, Ben. I mean, that's the real issue because the Pittsburgh has all the weapons. Like they've got a good offensive line. They've got really good receivers. They've got, James Conner's a good player. Yeah, Vance McDonald. Jesse James is pretty good too. Like they've got
and they were ineffective. Like that second half was pathetic.
I honestly fell asleep during it.
I watched it in the morning. It was just, it was a situation. You saw the Ravens be content to just field goal them to death because they did not think. I mean, normally when you're playing an offense like that, you start to say, God, we can't keep taking field goals because we know this team is going to score. They seemed content to just say, you know what, we can hold them down, and they did.
Yeah. That was a tough one. Whatever. I mean, I did not have a great showdown slates. Played a little bit of Sunday, Monday, primetime slate. It's not looking great, but it's not too bad. I think there's still a way out of it just because people like Juju were, not good, but also 60% owned. So.
Unless you full on stacked the game last night, I think you can weasel out because there's so many. There's nobody who could be ahead by that much unless they're out of it. Like I played in some things, and the people in the best situation are people who played obviously if you had John Brown, that's great, but even Juju and one other guy, and they have 420 minutes remaining or something. That's much better than having 7 plays from that garbage.
Yep. Which brings up tonight.
Yep. I mean, I know that I don't even know what I can say about Mahomes because I'm so whatever about him. But maybe I overrate. I guess I'll start here. Is Denver's defense as good as I perceive them to be?
No.
Okay. I think that's the answer, yeah.
But they are a brutally tough place to play.
At night, at home. Yeah.
Yeah. They still have a good pass rush. It's not like they gave up it's not like they've been getting beat up on defense, really. They're not like the crazy elite defense, but Chubb and Von Miller still, if you can get pressure on the guys, you can force someone like Mahomes to screw up. I think the Chiefs will have big plays, but I think that he finally starts to, whatever. As of this point, he's on pace for 0 career interceptions. I think we might finally see one tonight. That said, I almost don't mind if Kansas City just lays one on Denver again, because next week they have to go to Jacksonville. That's going to be tough too. Eventually the playing the defense against Mahomes is going to work at least 2 or 3 times this year.
We're going to find out. Well, I will be seeing. I'll tell you this: if he comes through these 2, I will obviously be the last person, but I will be singing a new tune, because these teams are no joke, and we'll see tonight's. Not that anyone really cares, but I have Denver defense locked and loaded from last night, and I do not have Mahomes. Showdown. I don't believe in really discussing the plays, to be honest. It's more, as we talk about every time, being narrative stricken. If you want, Jake Butt is out for the year for Denver. Maybe that opens up the Courtland Sutton train. Maybe the backup. I don't even know who their new tight end is going to be, but there's no secrets on a showdown slate.
No, and I wouldn't even do. I mean, I'd be whatever. You can play a million tight ends if you want, but I mean, I'm pretty interested in Kelsey, Manny Sanders, DT. I think are all fine. And yeah, in the chat, Seth Hader brought up the Denver defense is better than anything Mahomes has faced. That's for damn sure.
100% agree. And again, you can only play who you play, and he's torched 3 teams. But now we look back, and San Diego, which I was stunned, obviously they got some real issues.
Yep.
And the other 2 are, Pittsburgh, stop, and the Niners. Let's not get crazy.
Yeah, Pittsburgh and San Francisco are both bottom 5 defenses, it looks like. So,
yeah, we'll see. And then, Denver's D hasn't been great. But again, like you said, they haven't been abysmal. This is going to be a step up for them as well. So we'll see. The one thing, and I think this is the key to the slate, and I certainly do not have the answer. If you can figure out, and I don't know if there's a way to, the Denver backs, I'm partial probably to Royce Freeman. I hope they give him first crack at it, but it seems like they like Lindsey. Lindsey got thrown out of the last game. And then you have Booker, who seems game script dependent if they're really trailing. So you got the 3-headed monster there. If you can find one, that could be super valuable.
Yeah. I do like the Reek and Denver defense combo tonight because anything you're playing is a short slate. So I do think Reek is live to get a huge play while Denver also gets some huge plays.
Yeah, it's not even remote. I would never do this, but we've talked time and time again. Mahomes is from, if we are right about this, Mahomes is from the Deshaun Watson where the defense can get there while they get there. I don't think Denver's defense success tonight comes at the expense of Mahomes' stat line per se. It's just a couple of horrible throws add up very quickly.
Right. The difference between, I say this a lot, but the difference between 14 and 34 points is 2 actual points.
That's one pick.
Yeah. So Mahomes could, Kansas City could score 15 tonight and everyone would be like, dude, they got trounced. Denver D was such a good play. If they score 31 tonight, the Denver D can still get there, easily.
Look at the Raiders. I was on the Raiders defense yesterday, and they gave up 42 points, and they were very effective.
And that's where you get into, over 35 is where you get into, bad news territory.
They were so bad that it actually hurt, but they forced 4 turnovers. They scored a touchdown.
Yeah, they still got it done.
Because Baker's just – even though the refs – I've become a Browns hater, even though I secretly like them. The refs butchered that game for the poor Browns. Yeah, absolutely. And on a 2-game slate, you could take many, many targets, weapons from the Chiefs and play Denver's defense. There's nothing wrong with that.
Nope, not at all.
But what is –
a lot of people talking about Kareem Hunt.
I was just going to ask you about that.
The guy doesn't play.
And maybe it changes. We're only 3 games in. Mahomes doesn't seem to, right now he doesn't need to check down, but the targets are what really are a red flag for me.
Yeah. Running backs that aren't catching 8 passes a game have no ceiling. To be perfectly honest, I came in a little under on, not no ceiling, but they have it's not as
touchdown dependent, and that's
brutal. Even Sonny Michel yesterday had a nice game, right? Pretty nice game. He played awesome. He got over 100 yards rushing and a touchdown, and was useless in tournaments because he didn't catch any passes.
No, it's. I think the way, and you just said this. I'll say it in my way. Sonny Michel played as good as you could ever expect him to play. He literally did everything perfect, and he was good. But that's as good, you know what I mean? There are so many guys, Saquon comes to mind sometimes, that do nothing, and they end up with those same points. And it's well, that's brutal. So if Kareem Hunt doesn't become an asset in the passing game, which I'm not ruling out just yet, we'll say.
Right. Yeah, I wouldn't either. It's certainly possible that he could, but yep. Kiefer, yeah, totally. D is about the ability to pressure the QB and not as much about how many points they hold the opposing team to. That's been my mantra for years, man. I'm with you. It's how much pressure can you get on the QB and how mistake prone is the QB. Like, you can pick on Josh Allen with anyone. That's totally fine. You know, he's going to give up his crazy points to bad defenses like the Packers. I had a fair amount of Packers yesterday. That was nice.
That was my big mistake on that slate. Because the Bears defense was so obvious. Even in defense, it was like, oh, I got 14. Whoops, missed the Packers. Yeah.
But, I mean, there were cheap defenses you could use. You know, like, I played some Saints. They were okay, too. I thought that was going to go a little better. That was just the craziest word more than anything else. I just think the Saints are, like, I don't think they're this bad defensively. They're still talented, and, like, a horrible offensive line like the Giants is
I'm all about the defense swerve. Like I said, I played the Raiders day, and no one was really doing that. And of course, you know, if Hunt gets the perfect, they give him looks on the goal line, but it's scary to, again, that's where you're touchdown dependent. And when you're touchdown dependent, you up your variance extreme. You can get vultured. You can get, you know, it's an arbitrary thing if you're down at the half-inch line or if you're in the, like, that's just a disaster waiting to happen.
Yep.
But I don't know. It's also funny. I saw something on Twitter, and this is just, I mean, we're not breaking news here. Evan Silva last week, he put up a poll saying, who would you rather have, Josh Allen or Trubisky? Like, you know, bunch
Allen
of
crushed him.
It's like 70-30. He put up the same poll today, and Trubisky's crushing him. And it's just like, you know, let's not – I know it's cool to just, boom, this guy sucks. This guy's great. Mahomes is the best player in the league. This guy's a bust. It's everyone except Baker. We know Baker's a bust, so we can just label him garbage.
Josh Allen's trash, too.
Oh. That's not
seen
unfair.
Him twice now, man. That's all I need. No. It's over. 2 games.
But Josh Allen and you, I know you're just joking around with me, but if you look, they are getting sacked at a rate that is so beyond anything that I've ever seen. We don't know what he is, and we're not going to know until they get a real team around him.
Yeah, they don't have. Yeah, exactly. You cannot make any judgment call on Josh Allen this year because there is no offensive line and no wide receivers. Like, he's got nothing. So.
He's getting sacked on like 20% of his dropbacks. It's just like not a real thing.
Yeah.
And yes, Baker, I'm obviously joking. We'll see how he comes along, but the recency bias is
ready to bury Mitch Trubisky after 3 games, and they're ready to say Pat Mahomes is a Hall of Famer after 3 games. Like, let's not forget that against awful defenses that we did. You know, we thought the Chargers were a good defense. They've been below average, and then San Francisco and Pittsburgh are actively bad. Mahomes has looked amazing. You know, he's not. You can't ask him to do any more than he's done. He's certainly done that.
Impressive, but it's incredible. And I you know, we don't like to be, I'll say this, we don't like to be labeled the golf guys because we're not. Having said that, I'll take this back to golf. And I use Patrick Reed as an example. There's many other guys early in the year catching a ton of hate. Like, this guy sucks. Why are you recommending him? He's garbage. He's going to lose his card. Then he wins the Masters. Then the guy, you know, like, these are long things. It's a long year. We'll see what happens when the dust settles. And it's all about, it's good to have these in the sense of if you can get a pulse on what everyone else is doing, because that's how you get inflated ownership. That's how you find leverage. Now, if he's this good, you want to keep buying. It's not like, oh, everyone likes him, I just fade. That's not how that works.
No. We just don't know how good he is yet. We truly don't.
And I'm skeptical.
Yeah. I was really skeptical. It's funny because I think my biggest overexposure to the field this year has been on Deshaun Watson, who, like, I was really skeptical of last year. I knew that he couldn't play like that forever. But the thing with someone like that is you want to play – they're really high variance. You want to play them when they're not as popular. And Deshaun Watson has not been as crazy popular this year, partially for good reason. The Texans have an embarrassing offensive line, and he has come back to earth in a major way. But that upside is there. If Patrick Mahomes, you know, if he sucks the next month and all of a sudden starts being 2% owned, you know who I'm going to be playing a shitload of? the guy with the 6 touchdown ceiling.
And it's funny you said that. I was just about to say, I know it sounds like I'm just hating. Patrick Mahomes is a guy that in certain circumstances I'm going to be unloading on.
Yeah.
Because all I'm saying is that his range of outcomes is gigantic. And right now, nobody is seeing the rest of it. They're just, rightfully so, seeing the absolute monster games. And I'm not shocked. I mean, it is surprising, of course, that he's got 13 touchdowns. I mean, I'm floored that he has 0 picks. That is infinitely more surprising to me. The quality.
Ruh-roh. Down goes everybody. Hey guys, if anybody's here, it's Josh right now. Looks like we lost Andrew and Ben, which is weird because I think you still have me. Let's see if we could wait a second to see if they get back here. Otherwise, I'm not entirely sure what just happened. Connection looks fine, but I lost the 2 gents. Can you guys confirm that you hear me in the chat, please? My internet looks fine. Thanks, Chris. We'll hold out for them for a quick minute. Yes, that is God speaking, Donald, just in case you were curious. What's up, everybody? I don't even have my lights on in here. What's going on? I'll hold out and see if they can pop back in. Who's got questions for me? I'll answer whatever you want to hear. Hit me with it, everybody. Hit me with it. Bad producing job. No, I blame Andrew and Ben entirely. I'm just curious if they know that they're gone or if I'm the only one that's gone. Let's find out.
Are we dropping off when Josh drops out of this?
I don't know. We're keeping people on edge one way or another. It's hard to tell. So we'll see. Oh boy, Safeway. And man, I don't know about all that.
It'll be exciting. We got a big show tomorrow. We got some familiarity. I think it'll be fun.
We do, yeah. I encourage everybody if you haven't played DFS golf, and I know we're obviously super biased, it is the best DFS sport. I love it. It's so much fun, if nothing else. I think there's a big edge there, of course, but it's a great sweat. You should 100% give it a try. So if you haven't and you want to learn about it, tomorrow is a show to check out. We have a special surprise in addition to us just talking nonsense about the Silverado Resort.
Should we just let them know? There's probably 50 people here. It's not that big of a surprise.
Absolutely, yeah. It's your Andrew Barron made it happen. So
we got Tim back, our buddy, fantasy golf man. Got the contract details worked out. He's ending his holdout, so he'll be back. We're gonna have him regularly. Should be the Tuesday show from A to B is gonna be our old Fan Vice Golf show for all intents and purposes. So those of you familiar with that, we will have it back up and running starting tomorrow. So we're stoked.
No, it's awesome. Tim's super sharp, of course. Does some betting too, which is fun. We'll absolutely be talking about that. And yeah, it's always fun to have us three breaking it down. It was a great time last year. Excited for it to get going. Kind of wish we had a little longer break from golf, but we will take what we can get.
Yeah, I do too. But the real golf break happens in December. That's when there's truly no golf.
Yeah,
you get 4 weeks off, and then. But yeah, from January, what's the Sony, the Tournament of Champions, the first one? That's like the first week of January.
Yep.
And then it's basically nonstop until Thanksgiving.
Yeah, I mean, give or take, it's truly nonstop from that until like September. I mean, it's nonstop. It gets a little sporadic.
It's 1 week. There's the Zurich, right?
Yeah,
the
team
match. Yeah,
and that's a great Euro week. Like, if you really want to play. So we'll see, but obviously it's still football time. Don't worry, we're going to be talking plenty of football.
Yeah, we talk football. Yeah, we talk football a lot. NBA is coming back. We'll be into that. Everyone's talking. Josh likes. Josh is an actual real golf fan too. We talk to him after shows a lot about it. Gets into it.
It's good times, and yeah, NBA is preseason's in full tilt. We got Fast Eddie doing his thing already. It's coming around a couple weeks.
I think we'll start, just to let you know, buddy. We should get on Wednesday. Let's start. We'll do some initial NBA breakdowns because we can't talk about the NFL slate 5 times every week.
So I totally agree. Yeah, we're going to be talking some ball on Wednesdays, Thursday, Friday. Thursday's the Lofty Show. 3 fellas. Friday's college football and NFL. That really is. I know a couple weeks ago when we were just spewing nonsense, this is the schedule that we've really envisioned going forward. So people will become a little more used to what we're talking about on each day.
Yeah. So the basic idea, Monday, weekend in review, because there's all kinds of shit that happens on the weekends in sports. Tuesday is our regular golf show. It's going to be me, Ben. We're going to have Fantasy Golf Man, Tim, Frank back. Wednesday will primarily be NBA. We'll talk about some other stuff too, but primarily that. We'll have the Wednesday night golf show where we sort of go over what has changed for us. And then Thursday nights we'll have 3 fellas with Lofty, and then Fridays NFL and college football.
Yep. And then I'm on Sunday mornings on an NFL show, breaking it all down. Obviously, always have Hot Magic's projections for all of this stuff, which is very, very useful.
It's true. There's all kinds of stuff, great stuff behind the paywall over at Osmo.com. You should give us a try. If you are not a member, it's a pretty quality service. We got ownership projections, regular projections, articles,
Slack.
Slack. Slack
is the best. Like
people to yell at.
Yeah, that's worth it in itself. It's just, first of all, it's a great community. Second of all, if you're a sharp person and we want sharp people to sign up, you'll see we got some real characters in there. So it's an entertaining thing, if nothing else. Like,
indeed. All right. Well, thank you very much, everyone, for tuning in. Ben, pleasure talking to you. I'll talk to you in 30 seconds off air. Josh, thank you for producing, and we'll see you all tomorrow.